Conservation could be considered a basic tenet of modern agriculture. And while the well-worn concept is being adopted voluntarily throughout portions of rural America, some have kept a watchful eye on the environmental impact of farming for generations.
We've just kind of taken it upon ourselves to be stewards of the land. We realize that the time that we're here is really just a very short period, and it's been important to my family.
Custodial practices like no-till and cover crops help hold soil together, minimizing erosion. In turn, nutrients crucial for successful yields are more easily retained on the 1,700 acres David Osberger farms near Jefferson, Iowa.
Really a nice root mass of cover crops here. You can see some of the residue from previous crops, and it just slowly decays over time. The earthworms pull it down, the bacteria breaks it down, converts it into organic material, and that organic material is food for microbes, and they actually produce nitrogen. So some of what's going down to Des Moines is the byproduct of a natural process.
Agricultural runoff is a hot-button issue in the Hawkeye State these days.
So that motion passes.
Earlier this year, Des Moines Waterworks sued the boards of supervisors in 3 counties upstream. The case alleges drainage districts adjacent to Osberger's home county are allowing excess nitrates from farm fertilizers to flow into the Raccoon River, a major source of clean water for customers in and around the state's capital city.
This lawsuit, while it was kind of a slap in the face, might do some good as far as really getting people's attention and saying, hey, we do need to make a change here.
We're not going to be prescriptive in what we think should be happening on the land. We just believe when that pipe discharges into the waters of the state, that it should be water that we're able to process for safe human consumption. With nitrate concentrations at the kinds of levels that we've seen, that's not the case.
Under the Safe Water Drinking Act, nitrate concentrations cannot exceed 10 milligrams per liter. Formed by the breakdown of nitrogen, consuming water fouled by the pollutant can be harmful to pregnant women and deadly to infants. The state of Iowa adopted its nutrient reduction strategy in 2013, which aims to reduce agricultural pollutants by 45%. A blend of efforts like cover crops, buffer strips, and wetlands are outlined. Some funds are available to help kickstart implementation, but participation is voluntary, though some argue initial expenditures pay for themselves through nutrient retention on farm fields. However, with no deadline for meeting its goals, Des Moines Waterworks claims the state's strategy is ineffective, citing high nitrate levels in its source waters again this year. And in order to comply with federal guidelines, the urban utility says record-setting operation of its aging nitrate removal facility, often referred to as the largest of its kind in the world, is necessary. The charges leveled against Sac, Calhoun, and Buena Vista counties declare violation of the Federal Clean Water Act by failure to acquire the proper permits for what is described as point source pollution. Agriculture is currently defined as a non-point source, but some fear unprecedented legal action may give way to intrusive regulations across the nation, but not before long, drawn-out litigation takes place. Waterworks officials say legal costs pale in comparison to the estimated $183 million a new facility would cost. But representatives of the agricultural sector maintain that sound environmental practices are still the best bet.
Boy, you could envision all kinds of appeals depending on which side you're on, and it's frustrating, but it's also why we're so focused on the solutions, because at the end of the day, farmers have to be focused on the management of their soil, their water, and their nutrients anyway.
Roger Wolf is the Director of Environmental Programs and Services at the Iowa Soybean Association. The nonprofit group promotes sustainable conservation practices which help farmers improve their bottom line. With its own certified and accredited water testing laboratory at its central Iowa headquarters, ISA collects data on nutrient flows throughout the state. And while information points to fluctuating nitrate levels in the Raccoon River, Wolf says a decade's worth of evidence shows fewer nutrients overall being delivered downstream. But he is quick to point out findings by Des Moines Waterworks in the same watershed are not necessarily at odds with those of his organization.
I wouldn't say it's conflicting. What I would say is that our numbers document trends, and they're looking at a snapshot in time.
For nearly 20 years, the Iowa Soybean Association collaborated with the state's largest water utility on environmental issues. And while disappointed by the current lawsuit, Wolf says ties to Des Moines Waterworks were severed after Bill Stowe took over.
I'd characterize it almost as a divorce.
I will be the first to tell you that we have terminated a number of those so-called partnerships in the past, realistically, because we did not believe as a partner that we were getting a return on our investment.
While grievances mount on both sides of the issue, leaders of Iowa's agricultural community point to an example being set in the state's second largest city, Cedar Rapids.
The Middle Cedar Partnership Project is a cooperative effort of 16 different partners utilizing funding that's available through the recent Farm Bill and the Natural Resource Conservation Service.
In total, over $4 million in technical and financial assistance will allow Cedar Rapids Water Division to team up with farmers in the Cedar River watershed to minimize nutrients from runoff. The utility has yet to battle the nitrate levels Des Moines Waterworks has been facing.
We don't necessarily have a system in place to remove nitrates. So what we're doing is we're monitoring and detecting the levels prior to the water coming into the plant.
While measures in the Cedar Valley are largely preventive, they may be the best prescription for an area susceptible to major flood events.
We're a very food processing, biotech intensive community, so our relationship to our watershed, to a source of a lot of the raw supply that's utilized in various industries in Cedar Rapids, takes place in the Cedar River watershed.
Some hail the City of Five Seasons plan as the preeminent alternative to the water woes of Iowa's capital city, but drawing comparisons is a difficult task.
They're very different watersheds. The drainage patterns are different, the level of organic matter in the soil is different, the topography is different.
And the variations don't end there. Cedar Rapids furnishes clean drinking water for about 130,000 people, a fraction of the 500,000 residents Des Moines provides for. Des Moines Waterworks draws from the surfaces of two rivers, the Des Moines and Raccoon, while an alluvial aquifer below the Cedar River is the drinking water source for Iowa's second largest municipality.
Both of us are interested in safe water. That's the bottom line.
The Middle Cedar Partnership does offer promise for urban-rural teamwork across the state and the nation. But in the end, solutions, either in the courtroom or the field, won't be a quick fix.
I think that farmers in general are really cognizant of the fact that in the face of lower crop prices that we can't be losing those nutrients. So it's going to happen, but it's going to take a little time.
For Market to Market, I'm Josh Bittner.